Magandang araw mga kaibigan, and today I would like to talk to you about the top requirements to succeed for spouse or partner's visa. Now, number one, the very first requirement that an applicant must meet in making a spouse or partner's visa, number one is the suitability requirements. Whenever we have the suitability requirements, it means that the applicant must not have any sort of criminal conviction or criminal offense or civil injunctions made in the UK or anywhere in the world. Kailangan wala tayong offenses. Kailangan wala tayong record or derogatory records. And if there is, you must disclose it. You must tell that to the decision maker. And very likely, if the applicant has criminal record for just few months ago, very likely the application is going to be refused. But if it is something like happened in the past, like many years ago, and they call it spent, yung criminal record ay nabura na, wala na sa record. For example, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years ago, these are normally spent, especially if you are not detained or you were not imprisoned. So that is very, very critical, very crucial for an applicant to mention the criminal record. And under the suitability main requirement, there is another one which is very new. About 2 years ago, it was included in the immigration rules, is the NHS debt. Which means that if an applicant makes or has an outstanding balance with the National Health Services, may utang sa ospital, nanganak o nagkasakit, tapos hindi pa nababayaran, very likely the application will be refused. Only, but only, pwede kang makalusot dito sa paanong paraan. Ganito yan mga kaibigan. Kung ikaw ay mayroong outstanding balance with the NHS, may utang pa tayo sa government, it is important for you to make an arrangement or payment flexibility plan or payment arrangement with the NHS and show that to the decision maker, to your application, saying that you have made an arrangement and it was approved by the NHS finance team that you are going to be paying this amount of money every single month or every week, whatever the arrangement was made. So, importante yun na kahit may utang tayo sa hospital o sa anumang NHS body, maganda na meron tayong declaration din doon and make sure na meron kang in place na payment arrangement plan. At pag nakita ng government yan, wala naman silang problema dyan. Okay? Now, tungo naman tayo on the second main point, second main requirement, which is the eligibility requirement. Under the eligibility requirement, there are 4 subcategories under that. So, una kanina, pinag-aralan natin suitability. Nandun yung criminal and civil injunctions. Nandun yung utang sa NHS. And under the eligibility, there are 4 subcategories. Number 1 is the relationship requirement. The relationship requirement is very important because it normally asks the applicant whether the applicant has been living with his or her partner for the last 2 years. Kailangan 2 taon na silang magkasama sa iisang bubong. That was the requirement of the law. Okay? So, dapat hindi pwedeng visiting each other, hindi pwedeng seeing each other, kailangan living together. So, it's very important for the applicant to distinguish these terminologies to increase the merits of success, to increase the chance of success. Hindi sapat lang na nakikita lang sila every weekend or nakikita lang sila paminsan-minsan or sila na pero hindi pa sila magkasama sa isang bubong. The law pertains and the law requires that the applicant, to meet the relationship requirement, you have to be living together with your partner for the last 2 years or 24 months. The next one, mga kaibigan, is the financial requirement. It's very important. Maraming bumabagsak dito sapagkat they don't think that this is very, very mandatory. It is a requirement of the law because the government doesn't want you to make an application and then you succeed, and then what happens next is that you apply for housing benefit or um, job seeker allowance. Ayaw nila ng ganyan. The applicant must prove that he or she must be able to support, sustain, maintain, and accommodate himself or herself without asking the government to support. Walang benefits. So, kailangan yung iyong partner kumikita ng tinatawag nilang minimum income requirement o yung tinatawag nilang MIW. Okay? So, yung tinatawag nila na yun, yung minimum income requirement na yun, mga kaibigan, is that is the requirement for the applicant and the sponsor to provide, which is 18,600. You can prove this by employment. You can prove this by business or self-employment or cash savings, which is gonna be 62,500, or investment, or kung pensioner ka, pwede mong ipakita rin yan. Okay? So, very important mga kaibigan ang financial requirement. And the next requirement, which is very important as well, is English language requirement. If you're making an application for the first time in the UK or outside the UK, and you are applying for the very first time, the basic requirement is A1 level. A1 level. Letter A for alpha, 1. A1 lang. Bagamat marami kumukuha na mas mataas, pero hindi pa naman yun ang requirement. Ang intention natin ay makabisa muna tayo, makapasok muna tayo ng United Kingdom. And that's the basic requirement, basic English requirement that you have to meet for you to pass and to satisfy that requirement of the rules, which is level A1. And the last but not the least, if you're applying in country, if you're applying inside the United Kingdom, one of the requirements of the rules is the immigration requirements. Ano yung immigration requirements? Immigration requirement, mga kababayan, is whether you are entitled to apply or whether you have met that. Because kapag dumating ka sa UK as a visitor, for example, you are not supposed to be making an application in country where you came as a visitor and then you are switching to another visa category. That is, they call it against the immigration rules. Pag binasa mo ang visitor's visa o standard visitor visa category, hindi ka pwede mag-apply in country. But only if there's always exemption to the rules. If there are or if there is something compassionate or yung tinatawag nila sa batas na insurmountable or yung tinatawag nilang very exceptional reasons for you to apply, what are these? Ano yung mga exceptionality sa pagkakataon ito? For example, when you arrived to the United Kingdom, something happened. Your husband became ill or became so sick. Something happened when you arrived that you did not know, na hindi mo basta-basta pwedeng iwanan. These are the point. These are a mammoth of explanation that you have to do. That you cannot just, there's no specific guidelines to this. And this depends to the immigration decision makers, whether your reasons are enough to meet the threshold, a very high threshold of exceptionality. Kapag na-meet mo yung exceptionality rule na yun, mga kaibigan, then you will understand and you will be able to meet the requirements of the immigration rules. And if you're applying and if you need help, let me know and I will help you to the best that I can. And God bless you all and thank you for listening to my short blog. Thank you po.